I think right now in Counter-Strike, and I think right now in esports across multiple titles, come into Counter-Strike and they say, okay, there's these five roles that people talk about. There's the sniper, the in-game leader, the lurker, whatever it might be. Some delusional motherfucker even says there's a clutch role, which is just like kill yourself. But like, but like they look at these roles.
How is that real? Okay, keep going.
They look at these roles and they say, I'm going to be this role. This is going to be the role I identify with, and I am going to work to be very, very good in this role.
So, first of all, does TSM beat Selfless if they don't have Desi? If they have Desi instead of Twist?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Although Selfless, much like CLG, has a lot of those online players we like talking about.
Doesn't it well, obviously. I mean, that one goes without saying, right? That team is nuts.
That team, I think TSM beats Selfless, even without him. I think Desi is good enough. I think this is the kind of team that I think Desi will really. He's kind of a one-trick pony. It's the aggression that is really his success. That's what he's good at. So if he's having a bad game, especially, he's going to start pushing. He's going to start being more and more aggressive, and Selfless will know that. Ryu will have warned them about that, so they'll be prepared for that. I still think TSM wins. I think everyone else will be fine on that team.
That's the problem with Desi, though. Is that here's the thing. He does have skill. He actually does have pretty good skill. Problem is, in game and out of the game, he's just a bit of a fuck boy. It's not about. Here's the thing. In game, it's not even a bad description, right? He just is a bit of a fuckboy the way he plays.
Fuckboy was the last word I expected.
Exactly.
Yeah,
okay, here's the thing.
That works. Yeah.
First and foremost, like I agree on the Splyce thing. The key thing about Splyce for me is that is the most insane bullshit upset in the history of CS:GO. The fact that they made that major, right?
Because, it's pretty fucked up.
Like, they were in the group with Dignitas and CLG, for fuck's sake, who were like both pretty decent teams at the time. So the maddest part about that whole qualification for me is that, like, put it this way, none of their players since have been picked up to go to better teams. That says something. Even the people who play them day in and day out are like, no, they're definitely not that good. Now, I think a couple of their players are all right, okay. Maybe a couple could one day be on another team, but that team in general, that was an insane bullshit upset. To the extent, like, I always give the analogy, okay, here's the analogy, Moses. So you know this term bird strike, which is where if you're flying a small aeroplane that only has two engines, if a flock of birds flies towards the plane and one of them goes in the engine will explode, and because you only have two engines, your plane will crash, okay? And you will die, right? So I don't know why I said that part. So like, oh my god, do the kids know what happens when plane? Mummy, what happens when plane crashes? Oh, granddad, Grandma Amelia Earhart is with God now. Like, I don't know. Okay, you die when planes crash, believe it or not. So, in case anyone hasn't seen the beginning of Dark Knight Rises, so you die when planes crash, okay? So, but here's the principle, okay? So the reason why that term is really well known to me is because in poker there's a term called donk strike. Because since a donk is like a donkey, like a shit player, if you go into like the World Championship, okay, there's so many donks that the idea is, because in poker, if you're all in, the best you can be is something like a 8-1 favorite or something, right? So even then, there's like a not ridiculously low chance you can just get upset by any two cards. So if you get all in enough in a big tournament and there's enough morons, inevitably some morons will make it deep in the tournament, and indeed some morons will knock out good players because enough of them will knock them out. So to me, Splyce was just a case of a random team who came along and somehow they were the little bird that flew into the Dignitas engine, okay? Now with that said, you don't, like an idiot fan on Reddit would, say, right, well, you know what we need? The Germans have got brand new planes in this world war. We're going to train up these fucking birds. Like, no, the point there is that it just takes enough random birds that it'll happen one day eventually.
There's still fucking retarded birds flying into an engine.
A bird is not a very good device for either aiming at an engine. It's not like a fucking missile that seeks out engines, is it? Nor is it actually that great for taking out engines. Like an actual missile is better for taking out engines. A bird has to fly in a very particular fashion. So my point is, Splyce are useless, just like a bird would be as a directed homing missile to take out engines. So yeah, Splyce is not, like, if that interview was like, oh, so what did you do in your career then? That was good. Well, I got Splyce to the major. Yeah, did you though? Did you though? Or was that just God, chaos, inertia, I don't know, entropy? Entropy,
chaos theory.
Not inertia. Yeah. was that just entropy in the universe? Things getting worse, breaking down over time. So, yeah, Splyce is nothing. Also, when he said that thing about how he would have done the interview, but every time CLG lost a game, he had to review the VODs, so he never got back to you. That's like, he's like, yeah, listen, well, something's come up, Mose. I'll do the interview like as soon as CLG stops losing and I have to watch the VODs. And then there's just like a gif of Moses as like a skeleton, like, I will wait patiently for Garrett to turn. Like, just losing every fucking game. Like, please, Garrett, please respond, please. Like, I don't think you were ever going to get that interview, to be fair. Okay.
No, probably not. It was his idea, though. I thought it might have been likely. He was the one who approached me. I didn't go to him. So, no, it was no big deal. Whatever.
Yeah. So this is a quick say for Renegades. Right, back when they used to have Havoc and Sponge, I always said one of those two has to go. You know, like, they both have a lot of underperformances. So they removed Havoc, got a tiny bit better. They got a Stillo. Then they removed Sponge. Oh, he stepped down. Whatever. Then they got in Ricky. Okay, so the lineup, looks good. And online, they're doing pretty well, and they seem to be improving. The problem is, I have to say, this is an example where I agree with all those roster moves. I think they're all good moves. But my main issue is, if you look at when they're failing, so they're failing again in the Wii League, they're failing at this LAN here in the final, I have to say, I think the choking issue of that team, or the underperforming issue of that team, goes deeper than those players, basically. I think there's something in this core. I haven't figured out who it is or what it is, but there's something still in that team where they can't play to the level of the players they have on that team, because they should be better. Now, interestingly enough, when I did my research on Renegades for that video I did where I kind of wrecked them, I think it was like either early this year. Yeah, maybe early this year. I remember when I actually was researching Azza, someone actually told me that he had a rep in the past of Counter-Strike of being like what they call a caker, which is their version of choker, basically. That on LAN he didn't do particularly well. And I have to say, it's a good term, right? If you look at a lot of these, I mean, obviously I'd say, someone like Warden's more of a caker myself, but just my own joke there. Shout out to all the old school people who know what I'm talking about. So some people get over being a caker, like Fraud eventually did. It's legit.
This is where you give the exclamation point, Thorin.
So anyway, that's not bad. Could still be talking about choking. So, I mean, ironically, those players never choked on anything in their lives. Like, it all went down nice and smooth. No Heimlich maneuvers, no fingers down the throat. Okay, that's enough. That's enough of that. Okay. So anyway, so you get the point. Is that that's what I think the problem with that team is. Now, the problem with that is, it's okay when one player chokes. As weird as this sounds, maybe in terms of going to Europe, the sweet spot was to have a week boot camp or bordering on 2 weeks boot camp. Maybe having that and then tournaments as well, and then not having time to go home. And like, the problem with that scenario is, it's the same reason why I think in CS gaming houses don't work. They work really well in other games, but I think the reason in CS why they don't is because you need like to decompress. You need to have your practice hours of whatever, 6 till 11 or whatever, but then all the other time you have to at least have the option to not have to see any of those motherfuckers and not have to talk to one of them and not have to have one in your face. When you're watching television to decompress later, you don't want one of them, you don't want Senfis's fucking troll face looking at you saying annoying things. That's not enjoyable at that point in time. You need to be able to press a little Skype red phone and turn him off and have that night to yourself, It keeps teams together is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and what was it, MBK after they won the major? He was like, we were playing like 20 hours of World of Warcraft leading up to the event every week and blah, blah, blah. And,
by the way, that's true, by the way. LDLC is one of the few teams who did no boot camp. They actually took time off because they'd been in all those finals. They took time off, and then I think like 2 or 3 days out, they just did a little warm-up because they already knew their level, They just have to be comfortable at that point.
Yeah, and they probably put in some obviously some deathmatch hours on their own, but yeah, I mean sometimes that's what you need. And we used to see it remember in the old CPL days, since we're doing some nostalgia blast from the past.
Oh, I know where you're going already. You mean the Lethal Gamers boot camp?
Yeah.
Or the team who won that almost never placed top 12 ever.
Yeah,
dude,
crushed.
think about how many of those fucking De Bears won. And he would just go get his head smashed in at the back end.
He was like, I'm feeling really good this tournament.
And that was why. It's because they used to play all night long till 6 in the morning, eating pizzas and drinking soda. And by the time they got to the event, it's like they'd done 2 events already, and they were burnt to a crisp.
Yeah, and even CPL was like that. There's no tournaments these days that do it like CPL did. It was just a full-blown BYOC. The professional players would be in the crowd playing games until 4 in the morning.
You don't know how many North American players I know who told me this story at CPLs. They would be at one of their first couple of CPLs, and they'd be like, dude, last night we beat Nip. Well, not Nip, it'd be like SK at the time. We beat SK on Mill. We're going to do awesome in this tournament. But then because they'd only got 3 hours sleep, they'd just get completely rolled, first couple of rounds. They'd be out of the tournament. And they'd be and then SK would win the tournament and be like, that could have been us, man. We beat him. And I was like, no, you should. That scrim that you won at like 4 a.m, you'd have been better just being asleep then, dude. Or like have some water or something. That.
If you've had too many balls and too many $4 pizzas, you're just delirious.
By the way, I realize we have drifted into nostalgia, but that alone, by the way, is one of the factors that people never understood from the North American scene. You know what? The SK team that dominated everything in 2003 won all those tournaments. They were one of the first teams to have strict rules, like we drink water all the time, like we try to go to bed on time. Meanwhile, every other team was people like the Bears, just like they were on like their 7th balls by about like 2 p.m. and they might have to play for 8 more hours, you know. Like, think of that'll fuck your system up completely.
Well, and there was all the drinking and everything. That was just such a shit show at those CPLs, man.
No, but that's the thing. People wouldn't understand the lack of professionalism. As in, teams would still be in the tournament and they'd be going to the bar before they had to play 8 a.m. the next morning. Now, I won't lie, every now and then there's a freak person, like there is in real sports. Like, you know, supposedly Wilt Chamberlain in basketball really was some sort of athletic freak where he used to go and like eat 2 margarita pizzas at halftime and drink like Pepsi and still go and play a fucking athletic game and be like an athletic beast, okay? But that's because he's a freak of nature. That's not because that's a good lifestyle, okay? Well, in the same vein, the player who played for SK in 2002 called Zenon, right? He was a famous Quake player. And the thing with him was he wasn't a godlike CS player, but he was just like super cool under pressure because he was an old Quake player, had really good nerves of steel. So I actually stayed out one night with him till like 5 a.m. drinking and just watching movies. And then I forgot that he literally had to play like the final at like 9 the next morning. But he just turned up like a fucking like out of a movie or something. Just won the final, like didn't give a fuck, even played well in it, just sort of like cruised off. Yeah, well, what do you mean? Yeah, it was fine. I got a few hours sleep, that's fine. That most people can't do that. Like in terms of modern professionalism, you gotta treat it like a sport, unfortunately now. If you want to win, you know.
Yeah, it is. I'll tell you this because I just went to my last event last year. It is you get older, you know. I need longer hours of sleep, man.
If you're a caster, you get destroyed, don't you? It kills you.
Oh my!
Because you start so early in the morning.
So much more exhausting than I expected it to be. It was. Oof.
And by about 9 p.m, here's a little secret I'll give to the younger guys out there. When I do my events now, I ration that energy drink out. Like I know I'm going to need it, but that's like I have like that in a red emergency glass. I don't have that at 11 in the morning.
I gotcha.
I wait till like I can tell at about 4 in p.m. I'm flagging, and I know there's 5 hours to go. That's when I break the glass and I have it, you know, because. If you have it at the 11 a.m. rather, you're fucked by 3. Like you're not going to make it to the end of the day, bro. Your brain's going to be slow.
Yeah, and then you got to get another one, and then you just start crashing, and you don't even feel like you're present and like understand what's going on.
It's a bad state of affairs.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, let me just throw this. Listen, you know how I like to court controversy in my world, so you don't have to openly say anything here, okay? You don't have to throw anyone under the bus, but I will just say. I don't know, the public doesn't know this, but one of the reasons why the Danish scene is so fucked up is also a reason why, to a degree, some of the North American scene is fucked up. So when we're talking now about people staying up too late at events and partying and like drinking and stuff, there's also some people who have kind of a herbal relaxant ritual that they like to get into. And this is ruining the Danish scene because there's a couple of key players who should be really good who can't get in teams or they only stay in teams for a few months because of this particular lifestyle choice that they have. And that's always been present in the North American scene. And we know from CPLs, dude. I remember one time going into the fucking... Again, this is a name no one will know, but you'll know. I went into the Weekend Warriors...
Weekend Warrior rival.
They were the original ones. Yeah, the Weekend Warriors hotel room, and it was like it was like being in the hull of a steamboat.
Yeah, like, I did the same thing. It's like hitting a wall.
It's ridiculous. And you were like, how can you... You're like, dude, you have to play in like 5 hours. What are you doing? So is that still present in North America to a degree, do you think?
Not to that degree.
Have they buckled down a bit now?
You just can't build anything around that. You can't plan anything, any kind of response from a secondary teammate to follow it up on another area of the map. So, yeah, that's just one of the areas we'd like to see them improve. That's an area that I think Cloud9 is actually starting to get very good at.
Also, will it not fuck with people in Optic that Tariq looks exactly like Mixwell? Like, I actually have a plot for a movie, Moses.
Just get straight up confused.
Okay, you ready? So you know, Face It Pro League? I want to start Face Off Pro League. And what happens is, right, in this story, Moses, right, because Tariq, is a big name streamer and he has all this fame, but Mixwell actually has the skills to be what Tarek thinks he is, like a sick LAN AWPer versus Europeans. Mixwell comes up with a plan to combine fame and skill, which is that, like the movie Face Off, where Nicolas Cage, who plays Castor Troy, goes to get that cop who John Travolta plays, and he takes his face so that he can escape prison and he can go inside the police force and you can't wreck him, right? So what happens is Mixwell drugs Tarek. I mean, I can't imagine what sort of drug you'd need to slip Tarek to make him go into unconscious. No, just an in-joke there. So he basically, we'll make it safe. We'll make it PG-13 for the American audience here, Moses. He just gets Tarek crunk, like that gif of where he was in that party going ham. He gets him crunk. Then in the morning, Tarek, comes to, he's in a chair, and then Mixwell is like speaking in Spanish, obviously. That's Spanish. He's speaking in Spanish, and the subtitles just say to the doctor, like, prepare the anesthetic, like, we will proceed to take his face off. He does that motion that you did there, like the long nose motion. So what happens is, this is the next stage of the plot. Mixwell gets Tarek's face, okay? And now he thinks, I'm going to be famous, because I'm going to have Tarek's face, so I can be a streamer, but I can also be the sick player. Obviously, he goes home, though, and he starts streaming, and everyone goes, hey, what's up, Mixwell? And he goes, what do you mean? And he goes, well, it's you, right, Mixwell? And so, how you doing? What are you doing on Tarek's stream, Mixwell? And then he goes, well, I'm Tarek.
Just trapped in his own nightmare.
And they go, no, you're Mixwell. Like, you look almost the same as Tarek, but you're obviously still just Tarek, aren't you? Even though your face looks pretty similar. And he goes, shit, yeah, I didn't think of that. So here's what happens then. The next plan he has is he thinks, right, well, another player who's really famous as a streamer, who doesn't have mad skills with European, is Shroud. And I also look exactly like Shroud.
Bloody hell.
So here's what happens, okay? Here's the denouement of the movie. Here's the twist for you, Moses. He goes to perform the same operation on Shroud to steal his face, right? This is where it goes to the next level. But here's the trick. When the operation's complete and he comes to and he goes to look in the mirror, he has his original face on. Because actually, since Tarek also looks like Shroud, Tarek performed a face operation on Shroud, then let himself have a face operation performed on him by Mixwell, therefore getting back his own face. And that gives the Shroud face to hit. Yeah, how does that work? I don't know. But at the end, they all look the same. Basically,
that's absolutely insane.
That's all. It's not even. It doesn't even really mean anything. It was just a waste of everyone's time. But it was.
I thought you were going to go like the Lindsay Lohan Parent Trap type thing.
Okay, what's going to happen?
You just swap them places, like you said. You send Mixwell to like what the New York with the Turkish New York family to go live for a week. Okay. He goes back. I don't really have an in-depth plot like you did. I'd have to give that some thought. Yeah,
do that then. Don't waste our time, motherfucker. Like, back to Counter-Strike. So anyway, back to Counter-Strike. So here's my question. If you look at his style of play, just to add this note in, that style of play is only acceptable if you are really good and you're getting lots of kills. Like, if you want to have the green light and do whatever the fuck you want and do crazy shit that's not within, like, the tactics, then you have to get the kills. You can't then do that and then fail to get. That's like the net negative is massive when you do that.
Yeah, and even and Rick's had a bad series, especially against.
He's had a bad life, mate. Hasn't worked out for him.
Just nothing's going well. But this
maybe in the next one when he's a cat. Okay, keep going.
This is why I would have liked to see Tarek, because I don't mind Freakazoid being on this team with Sean. I know those two work together well. I know, whatever that else is all about. I would have liked Tarek to just bet on this team, because to me, and actually, I almost made a video about this, and I actually held myself back. I tempered myself because I realized that this might have been a little bit harsh of a thought, but
come on, pussy! Right? You got in that case. Here's a rule. Here's a rule. From now on, anytime you ever have anything like that, you have to use it on this podcast. Okay? This is the real uncut raw product from fucking Brooklyn, New York.
This is when I pull out the balls and I just go.
Right, come on.
But my initial thought when I heard that Tarek had an offer from Optic and he had an offer from Echo Fox, to myself, I just said, this is where I find out if Tarek wants to be a brand or he wants to be a star player. This is where you find out if he wants to go, to the cushy house with the pool and then have all the fans and build up the stream, or if you want to go work under Sean and work with the team that actually, has some of the tools to become,
Plus, obviously, Sean has worked with Shroud before, so just playing back into that. Keep going.
right back into face-off sequel.
I know.
No, but that's the thing, and that's why it was. I held back because I was just so disappointed that he chose the brand. Like, why wouldn't you go? You've been in CLG for this long. CLG has never had a strong in-game leader. It never had any real experience structure to it. That was like 5 friends kind of learning as they went along, which is fine. You guys made it work as long as you could. Probably let it last a little bit longer than it should have. But you go under Sean, who's, everyone in my mind should want to play for in North America. That should be your goal, is to play for a guy who knows how to play the game.
See, you know what? You know the sick thing is, like, okay, do you have an end to that point? Sorry, did I cut you off?
Yeah,
Okay. So here's the sick thing. I've just realised what I really, really want to happen. Like, I'm so desperate for this to happen, Moses. Like, the whole thing about Cloud CLG is, the one thing you can say for them is they were friends, actually. They did come up from Premier together as a unit. They even got, people don't know this, JDM was in the lineup before when they were in Premier. And then they did get him back instead of Peter, and then they got together, and eventually, guess what? Yeah, they did make it, actually, to like a solid finish. I mean, admittedly, FNS got lost along the way, but no one really noticed because he didn't do shit. Eventually, they got to a position where they were a pretty solid team in the world. And that is a cool storyline for the friendship thing. Yeah. You do realise, just because of how long life lasts, eventually someone, like in the movie version or whatever, someone would get strung out on drugs or be really bitter against like one of the other players. Like, say JDM gets really successful and then, like, FNS or something does really badly. Eventually, just for the sake of satisfying me, I hope one of them eventually just comes out like, man, that whole friendship thing, that was all crack as shit. Fuck JDM. Just like, I would just love it so much.
Fuck JDM. Fuck Lounging. Yeah. Fuck Loud Nation. Yeah. I'm out.
And if they were just like, listen, I never liked him. I just used to say, listen, Easter Island, Rockhead, just shoot a couple more op shots and shut the fuck up.
I hope it's like...
I would love that so much. If inside, like, Cutler's head, he was just thinking evil shit like that the whole time. Go on, eyebrows. Go on, unibrow. Run in there. Get your head banged off with the stoner guy. And then we'll wait for fucking Easter Island head here to op the last 2 guys, shall we? While I, Homer Simpson... Anyway, bring it back.
I hope it's... Well, I mean, I wasn't going to bring it back anywhere useful. I hope it's Hazed, who's like he's just such like this happy-go-lucky guy. I hope he's the one who's just like strung out. And he's so strung out that like he just makes up his own reality, like changes history.
Okay, he just starts living a simulation in his own mind. Okay,
yeah, it's just things that never happened. He's like, this motherfucker stole my sandwich. Whatever it might be, whatever. Hayes would be the best strung out character in a movie ever.
So basically, at the end of the movie, our actual reality of what happened to CLG, the ups, the downs, is just like Hazed literally coming out of like a drug haze, like, oh, it's just drugs. Oh, it's just drugs. And he sells for, and as he goes to settle back down, obviously Mixwell's lying next to him. He's like, hello, Hazed. He's like, Tarek, what are you doing here? Anyway, that's the spoiler, like, surprise twist ending at the end. What do you actually think, though, as a last topic on the E-League qualifier, what do you actually think of alternate attacks, the fact that they will actually be at the offline portion of this competition?
I can't. I think they're gonna. I mean, like most new teams that get stepped up to the big leagues. I think the old term in 1.6 was "Welcome to the pros, bitch." I think they're gonna show up in Atlanta and just get stomped.
Classic. Like, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, I'll tell everyone this anecdote because it's actually brilliant. This is what I've always loved about Americans, was that Americans, obviously, I mean, by the way, there's a natural bias, which is that in the early days of Counter-Strike, since people didn't go to a lot of international lands, obviously people from Germany and people from Sweden might not have fantastic English, so there's not going to be much back and forth anyway in a game in Worlds, say, okay. But all the Americans obviously are playing in American leagues, and so there was a famous standard set, right, where what you would do was, say you were playing in an online game, and say it was like a CAL game, which is the equivalent, by the way, of like EPL or something. Say you're playing in an important match, and then you're doing really well, and let's say, for example, you win like a 1v2 and just wreck the other team completely. What you would do is you would type in world, say, welcome to the pros, bitch, or something along those lines, and it basically just meant like, like you're just like an amateur that just got to this level, like I'm like the vet, like suck my dick, basically. And so it was actually glorious, Moses, wasn't it? It was used so many times in history. It was like a hallmark of the North American scene. I loved it myself, mate. I thought it was the shit.
That's the best line ever. Welcome to the pros, bitch. Yeah, you just mentally wreck people. But on the subject of alternate attacks, yeah, I think they're just going to come in, and I don't think they're going to do very good. And I know that's I mean, I can't get that clip of Kiev out of my head. I've been like replaying it a million times. So I think that's going to be the excitement is seeing the stars of the stars, the guys who showed up, the Kiev, the KZY, Kazuya. I think James said he's supposed to be pronounced. Like those guys were dominant in this series against Godsend. So obviously you want to see them show up, and I think even DDK, bless his heart, made a really good point when we did the E-League Extra show where he said maybe this team isn't going to be good, but maybe the product of this team is they come in and maybe it's like Kiev shows up and he's incredible on LAN. The team itself doesn't do well, but that's just a piece that gets picked apart by some other org comes in and they need to make a change. Maybe Mouse Sports in the future says we need an upgrade. Let's go for Kiev. He had a great E-League season.
Okay. DDK, ever the optimist there. Maybe they go to LAN and actually one of them isn't total shit and then all just gets ripped apart completely and then we never have to hear from them again, but he can just play for a good team that I like. I am DDK. Brilliant. Okay. The org's just like, wait a minute, what was the good news? Oh, good news for the player, bad news for you. You will lose any of your players. Or they all cheat. So, brilliant. I don't know why DDK Consulting never took off, that agency that he started, So.
If you're ever wondering why DDK does not have his own job, works for Face It, it's because of that.
Why not? So okay.
I don't know. Like I'm trying to I don't.
I thought it might have been likely. He was the one who approached me. I didn't go to him. So, no, it was no big deal. Whatever.
So this is a quick one, but what do you think of the sound updates where they changed the sound of the main guns now? Like now, instead of just having the P250 sound like someone flicking a fucking rubber band against the back of your neck in class, now even the AK, the Galil, the FAMAS, the fucking M4A, 1S, they've all changed sound. The AWP has changed sound. What do you think of these sound changes? Give me your thoughts on a couple.
Well, the pistols are all shit.
Those are trash, yeah.
Yeah, we'll set those aside. We'll put them in the shit category. I don't mind the M4 one. I think the AK one just sounds a little weak. I love the new op. I think the new op is sick. I just want to know why. Like, what? Can we just get a why? Can we get an explanation of the thought process of like why these sounds needed updating? That's all I want to know. Maybe it would be good. It would at least probably be a funny read. I just don't see what was so necessary about sounds needing to be changed.
That's genius, though. It's like the idea that like Valve comes to Thorin. They're like, yeah, Thorin. Good news. In the next update, we changed the M4A1S. Oh shit, cool. Right, it has like 30 clip now. Maybe you can like remove the sound. Well, no, just change the sound. Wait a minute, though. The sound. You mean like the actual sound file? Yeah, it just sounds like a different weapon now, like a real M4A1S. But I don't know what that sounds like. But it sounds like this. Goodbye, Valve. Like, what even is that? I would just hang up at that point. Now, listen, I can't be taking these calls anymore. I've got Garrett on the other line. I've got to go talk to him now. Garrett, yeah, about that Splyce thing, mate. You are fucking. I think you know a thing or two. Let's do an interview, mate.
Here's the thing: people seem to be like trying to rationalize so much why the sounds are changed that people are like, oh yeah, they're changing it because now that it's on TV, the sounds need changed. And I don't even understand that one. I don't even understand the logic behind that. Why does it need to be changed for TV? Like, do they not sound okay on television? I just that's the thing. I mean, even
Moses, I think you answered your own question there, mate. Yeah. So obviously CS:GO is getting bigger. It's now on American TV, and we know that every American has an actual AK-47 in his back pocket while walking around because like God or something allowed you to do that. And then so as a result, they really do watch CS and they're like, I can't get into this game because that is a totally unrealistic P250 sound. Like, doesn't sound. Look, kids. See, that's what a real T250
that would
sounds
make sense
like.
If everyone in America was using like a potato gun and they wanted all the pistols to sound like fucking potato guns. Like that, that would be logical.
Even the kids are like, listen, Dad, like I know that you think this game's cool, but like when our uncle shot our aunt with that fucking USP-S, like it sounded way different than that. Like so.
It's just like the sounds are just like so whatever. I mean, I don't think it's like unplayable. Obviously, it's just kind of I don't understand why. I don't think it's a huge deal.
It did make me think of one joke though, because one thing I don't get, I find it really weird actually, is why they made the AWP have that weird thunder sound.
I love it. I love it.
But then I figured it out. You know where I figured out, Moses? That the reason they did the AWP like that, right, is because Smith's is a primary AWPer. And you know that old saying, like, thunder never strikes twice? It's pretty good, right? It's actually not bad, is it?
Smith is sitting somewhere listening to this, and he's just
like
what
really
the fuck?
again.
Why does he keep rigging me up?
It's like what?
Had nothing to do with G2.
If you're people like Smiths or Devil, it's like you just don't get it because again, it has nothing. It's like you don't understand. I have a little grab bag at all times, and if I ever need, it's like improv. I just go in that grab bag. Oh, something about Smiths being shit. Yeah. Oh, Devil, you're a bot. Like, fucking hell. What I'm talking about. I can always go to that, mate. That's so well I can keep going to. I will say this, Moses. Now you can think about this whatever you want, but I can identify my own thought process and when they're a bit wacky. But just like I said this on a past episode, when you switch your sensitivity a bit higher and then suddenly you're hitting like a slightly more like flick shots and you think, oh yeah, I've fixed it now, I'm going to be way sicker at CS. But obviously it levels off and you realise, no, you're just better in one area. It's like, in the same sense, I will say, I do feel like for some bizarre reason, I think that the M4A4 sound in a weird way has reprogrammed my brain and I feel like I'm better at bursting with the gun now and I get more kills. Now I will say that makes no sense whatsoever.
No.
It's definitely not true, but I feel like it's true. I feel like it's true.
I just played CS for like the first time since like Cologne, like just yesterday, and I thought the same thing. I was like, why am I so good at the M4 now? Like the M4.
Here's the thing. I used to always use M4A1S because I always found the M4A4, like, I didn't find the spray was that great, actually. It was all right, but I preferred to just burst with the S. But I actually prefer the M4A4 now. I think for some reason I can use it better. I don't know why.
I mean, it'll always remain an unanswered question.
Obviously.
Like, why the fuck we need sound updates in the first place?
Moses, again, I'm going back to that well again. Obviously, what they need to do is just change the AWP sound again until Smiths gets really good with the AWP. I'm back there again. There we go. Maybe Smiths and Devil, instead of spending time practicing, should just try and become the sound designer for Valve and find a sound that would make their brain able to hit shots more. Okay, we're going to end the Devil and Smith segment of the show.
We've got a bit far in that one.
Episode 14 of Counterpoints, and I'm Thorin, and as usual, all of my shows are sponsored by Alpha Draft, which is a fantasy esports service where you pay money. They pay me money. I mean, you can pay money, you pay a fantasy esports, but then they pay me money just for looking good on camera, having a really good brand, and it actually doesn't matter how good I am at Counter-Strike. So in many ways, I feel like I'm a North American Counter-Strike pro already, So I'm ready for this chat here that we're going to have. So my guests for this episode, we're going to start in the top right-hand corner, which is Hazed from CLG. And I know the key part is that I said the CLG part there because you were like, CLG, oh, is it JDM? No, wait a second, you didn't say that. Was it Tariq? FNS? Like, no. Remove all the other names. Like, in the Beatles, it's like John, Ringo, George Harrison. But there was that guy, Ringo was in the band, remember? The drummer, yeah. So it's like Ringo of the Beatles, but of CLG. That's how I think of you, Hazed.
I'm surprised you even knew who I was, honestly.
Okay. Do you want to? Okay, this is one of those times when I'm going to break I'm going to reveal behind the curtain what people say when they're on analysis desks. So here's something you might enjoy, Hazed. When you were at Cluj-Napoca, you remember when everyone was sat at those sort of tables that were out front, where all the players could come and each team had a table that they could sit back and watch the matches on? Yeah. When you were at one of those tables, like a parlor was going around and he was interviewing people at those different tables. He was just asking them like generic questions. When you were on the mic, when you were talking, because you have like a super deep voice in American accent, Richard just turns to me and goes, "You think that guy's ever smoked weed?" And we were all just crying, laughing, because you have like the most ridiculously stereotypical like stoner voice. I'm sorry, it's just true. So there's a gem for you, mate. There's a little gem.
I don't smoke, so.
Okay, well, you are obliged to say that on camera. Well done. You have successfully passed Hotshot GG's test. Okay, so we'll continue round Gambit. I mean, I think Gambit's a perfect home for people like Kucha, Dosia, Adren, because in theory, these are players where they just decided a long time ago how they want to play CS, and they just want to they're a comfort team, okay? They just want to do what they want to do, and they have a very simple style, and they just play it out, okay? They're not going to try something super new or invent something brand new. So I think, in that sense, Hooch was okay as the in-game leader, but I definitely think Zeus can bring something new. The only thing that I think will be interesting is Zeus has a reputation, which is justified, by the way, where he is one of the few in-game leaders in CSGO who himself is a rager. Now that's very rare actually. If you look at a lot of in-game leaders, they're more like passive personalities, but they're good tactically. Okay, so it's more like, I mean, Sean Gers, Pronax. These are guys where they just say, "Oh, let's try something next round." Zeus himself would rage when people did things he didn't want him to do. Okay, so here's the key detail I want everyone to watch out for if they ever see Gambit playing offline, is that Dosia looks to me, as an outsider, I don't speak Russian, like someone who is going to do whatever the fuck Dosia wants. And the rule is, do not criticize Dosia. So I want to see what happens in a world where Zeus makes some call, rotate now onto the side, like come in behind. And Dosia, as usual, he has that shift key held down. He's walking. He's holding an angle. It's like, but there's not enough time to get the button. Listen, I'm waiting for this guy to come out. And if he comes out, I'm going to get this kill. If not, I'm saving this gun. Like, I want to see what happens when those two meet. Okay, because that could be fun at least. Just as a side point.
As long as we get those gifs of Doja just like licking his lips over and over repeatedly, like some kind of sexual frog, I'm all about him staying on this team. I want him around forever.
This might sound like a mad comment, okay? This might sound out of order, Moses. I'm just saying, okay? Hashtag just saying. But if I had to pick someone in CS who looks like they might be some sort of mad sexual predator, what do you want me to say? The gifs out there are just unreal, aren't they? Like,
what was the one from E-League where he was like, it looked like he was just like fucking ejaculating in the middle of a round?
You mean where he was just working his wrist, like, and he was like...
It's
unreal,
unreal.
wasn't it? Absolutely unreal, yeah.
Oh, God.
And obviously, the key detail again, people might be like, Gambit, why are you talking about all these lower teams? Mate, these are all seed 2 teams for the major. Welcome to fucking the darkest timeline you will ever experience. So remember, that's also... Have you watched the new Hellraisers play at all?
No.
Okay, because they've signed that guy Dead Fox, apparently like legit for good. They've signed him to that team. The problem I have with that team is that's the team, if you remember, that's Angel, Bondix, the Ukrainians. Then they have Sticko and Zero, who are from... Just have a look.
I gotta tell you, Bondix has got to be one of the most depressing stories ever.
Oh, it's terrible.
Like leaves Flipside as like their star player to go to Hellraisers, and then Hellraisers doesn't qualify for the major, and Flipside gets top 8.
And then Oscar leaves.
Yeah. And that's just like that happened like the month after he got there was Oscar getting benched. So it's like, fuck. Yeah, he's got to be depressed.
Because my problem with Hellraisers is I don't see that that's a team that's going anywhere, quite frankly.
The question I have is why the hell is Angel signing a contract to the end of... I guess it's not that bad. It's about a year.
Because in theory, if you look at it, he seems to be the person who either in some sense like owns part of it or like has some super in with the best people in the team or whatever. I mean, here's the thing. Hellraisers was never that sick anyway. Like, they were in, like, 2014, they were pretty good, but at the end of 2014, it was basically only having Simple in the team that kept them, like, relevant, you know, they had upset potential then. As soon as Simple left, they became what basically, like, a Gambit is now, just an alright team that can maybe upset you on one map, but is never going to go deep in the tournament. In fact, at that point in time, I remember my joke always used to be that, like, the best thing about the Hellraisers organization is fucking Vladislava. I love seeing her at every event.
Yeah, that's great.
Call me.
It always brings a smile about this.
Exactly.
Have you seen this fucking picture that Hellraisers put in this contract announcement? It's like a Hellraiser. It's like an actual devil handing over a contract. It's like some mad Faustian.
That is unreal.
Let me have a look. Your soul.
I'm gonna look. I'll look it up now.
It's unreal.
No, I can't look there, but I'll have a look. Let me have a look. This is the one about Kuchi, yeah? Angel, you mean?
Yeah, Angel and Dead Fox. It's like, here's where you sign your soul away to be for the period of 1 year.
It actually is a devil in a red suit, and he's handing them a contract. Like, oh god, that's so good, isn't it? That is unreal. Why are you doing that?
It's so good. It's so good.
I mean, here's the thing: they've done a sick job of keeping consistent with like the imagery and the theme is on point. It's just that is the maddest concept I can actually imagine. Like,
it's even better because it's from like the CIS region, so it's just fuck, what is this contract actually asking of you?
Like, what else are they going to do? I have a picture where like fucking Dead Fox is like slashing his arm up with a razor and signing it in blood or something. Like, unreal, isn't it?
Could at least do like some like sexy Halloween girls like wearing devil costumes or some shit holding a contract. They did make that like maybe it wasn't Hellraisers, was it? Who made that like mad video? No, that was Gambit who does the mad videos with Doja.
Yeah. See, that's one of the things I love about Eastern Europe, actually, Moses. Same in Asia. They haven't got like masses of third wave feminists ruining the whole world. So they're still actually to the other extreme. They're still on that mad tip where it's like, you want some games or a car? Well, yeah, I love those things. How about some tits as well? Well, if you're offering. And so I love it, man. I think it's sick. Like, I love the way in those countries they just go straight like, here's the presenter. Wonder what gender she is. Woman every time. Brilliant. Guess what? I prefer looking at women who are just talking bollocks rather than a man talking bollocks.
Yeah, especially when you're looking at the counterpoints guy. The war is over.
Exactly. Counterpoints is our fucking show. You just dissed us unintentionally.
Shit, my bad. Listen.
I agree, though. I'd rather look at a woman. I'd rather Vladislava was in this other box. Like, hey, Vladdy, what do you think about this news? Rather than you. So you have got that correct.
Listen, if a girl was on that stage going, "The war is over," brah 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 brah,
yeah,
that'd be epic. It would have been a legendary sequence.
Then again, though, if I'm being honest, my ideal Skype call with Vladislava is not actually a 3-hour talk show about like what's happening in CS:GO. So we'll see. Maybe that'll happen for me, boys. I won't be telling you on this show, obviously, because I keep. We're
going pretty deep down the rabbit hole on this one. We're in dangerous waters here, Duncan.
I'm trying to go pretty deep down the rabbit hole. Anyway, Playboy reference. Okay, so right, let's go to the next piece of news.
Fnatic was easy to play against because they were easy to read. You always knew what they were going to do, so then all you had to do was just kill them while they did it. Whereas when you played someone like MTW, which is again MTW, then you actually had to think, which made it harder because like you might get easier shots in general. They're not going to shoot back at you as fast as Forrest was back then, but they're going to make those shots harder for you in other ways. That's sort of the thing where I think for like when Fallen gets his team going or Existence gets Titan back, and I actually think Titan's going to rebound this coming year a little bit. I think when that happens, those guys are going to outthink Fnatic and find ways to sort of just abuse the way they play. I mean, even with Pronax on the team, Fnatic somehow always struggled with Titan, which I think people forgot about because Titan just kind of...
No, it's true.
Pronax
always said he was the
wayside in the middle of the year. Yeah, exactly.
Here's the thing, Lurpus. Every time I ever had these behind-the-scenes convos with Happy, which were essentially, by the way, just mad, no-holds-barred trash-talking sessions, I used to literally... What I would always do is I would draw him into traps. So I'd lead him down a road where we were talking about, like, you know, I'd be talking about, like, you know, this team's won more than this in this scenario, and this player was better. And what I would always be leading him into is, by omission, by never talking about who'd actually won more, I would lead him to think that was where he'd be trying to get one step ahead of me. So he'd go, but we always won more than Titan. I always won more than Existence. And I said, is winning the metric of if someone thinks right? Okay, is this your philosophy? And he said, yeah, if you win, you must be better. And I said, why is it? And this is the key thing. I said this before the Envious team finally won a series off Fnatic. I said, well, you've never beaten Fnatic. You know, Existence has beaten Fnatic many times, and you acknowledge with a much worse team. So if winning is the only metric and the only truth in this world, then I believe we've arrived at a conclusion.
At an impasse here.
Trap cards all day long, mate. That's all it was. Just trap cards. And you know what his answer to that was, Semler? He didn't attempt to address the argument. He just said, this is bullshit. If we were talking in French right now, you wouldn't be able to do this. And I was like, we'll never know, mate. Never know.
That's why you should have got me and how to translate for you.
That's a massive issue. I think that's like obviously if you see Jacob getting back into form, then FaZe is going to do well. They're actually going to make it into playoffs for once. But I don't see how that change is going to come about because it's just been too long of that yo-yo ride.
Like those two players, what's funny is whenever I look at the FaZe team, okay, so the thing is, Rain actually still plays pretty well right now. Yeah. Alu's stable, which is what you would expect from him. Kiyoshima not much of anything, but I can't blame him too much. He is a fucking French guy who's like just improved his English in the last year playing in a team with people from Scandinavia. Like, what more do you expect? Like, you know, calm down. So I don't expect too much from him, and admittedly he had been in a slump when he left Envious anyway, so he's probably average, he's alright. The two that really kill me is Jacob and AZ though, because I actually think those are two players where they are like proof that FaZe's approach does not work, because either of those players, you give either of those players to someone with like a brain, like a fucking Blade or an MSL, and they'll build whatever team they have around that player and make that player fucking amazing. Like, they'll just make the whole team a vehicle to make that player carry. And instead in this team, it's like they're all just neutralized, you know. They're like it's like they take turns to have a good game, you know. You never have that proper team approach where you know this guy's going to do this and this guy's going to do this, and so as a result they're the only team that ever actually lived up to that mad reverse of the statement. Like, they are actually less than the sum of their parts. Like, they're somehow worse than the names on paper, right?
I think everyone on that team has gotten worse since they like joined. It feels like God.
Oh, that's what happened to Fox. Fuck, he's probably super sick, and then he joined this team. They ruined him.
Well, I mean, I thought I think it was who said this.
By the way, just hold that thought a second, because I have to remember this joke before I forget it. Because if you have a good joke, you gotta get it out in the moment. Okay. So speaking of which, because this is obviously indirectly Lurpus guest starring on this episode through all the jokes that I remember he made on Twitter. So when he left, when Fox got kicked out of FaZe, obviously all the cretins from like Brazil and Portugal, like this is the one moment where they could all like meet like in fucking Cerebro, like I'm finding all the morons in the world, like they find all the morons, right? And everyone from Portugal was like, I'm sure one of the Brazilian teams will pick up Fox. And then Lurpus made a tweet that was along the lines of like yes, I'm sure they will. He's only 29 years old, like, and shit at playing the killer. Someone mad like that. Like he had a good point. Like, he lives in Portugal. You'd have to import him. He's not actually even from Brazil. He is 29 years old, and he's not a good player. So, like, well, he's got a lot of compelling reasons going for him. Like, the upside's pretty good, right? It's so stupid. Like, there's actually no reason.
I mean, that sounds like a match made in heaven for NA teams, doesn't it?
True. Could be, yeah.
Fucked up imports.
Moses, why not get Fox? He could be an all-pro on Cloud9. Come on, Moses, get some fans. Get some fans, mate. What's wrong? He's a good AWPer. Haven't you seen HLTV forums recently?
Listen, don't
imagine if aliens
into the fucking Portuguese hit list that has your name on it. I don't want to be there right next to Thorin.
Dude, if aliens came to Earth and read HLTV.org, they'd actually think that, like, fucking... First of all, they'd come away with some conclusions like, oh, wow, this Fox guy is apparently a really sick AWPer. And also, we really need to look into this fodder guy. That's all they'd come away with, right? Oh, and every single pro player cheats in every single clip. They all cheat, so... and scene.
That would be epic. I cannot imagine a world in which that happens, because I don't see that team really even like outside of E-League. I don't see them competing at international events very often. Okay. I don't think they're gonna. I mean, this is the thing. I've said this because I've had a lot of people ask me about Echo Fox, and I don't know what their dedication level. That strikes me as a team that's just put together to go to E-League because they got a spot.
Do you know what I think the way you could sum that team up is? It's actually a famous Notorious B.I.G. and Puff Daddy song. It's called Mo Money, Mo Problem. See what I did there?
Speaking of Mo, by the way, did you see his tweet to Sivo where he was mad at Sivo for putting a team in the Sivo professional division that hadn't ever competed? Did anyone else find that just really, really interesting considering how they got into E-League? Because that team was put together like overnight. Like, Rix was supposed to leave like 3 days after that team was formed to go to the minor with Complexity. Yep. And that's why Complexity had to back out, because Rick signed with Echo Fox. Like, that team was put together immediately after Vegas when Mo was told, like, put a team together, you have a spot in E-League.
Okay. No, I certainly think that's quite hilarious that he was upset about that. Yeah, I feel like Mo's the sort of guy where he's used to getting things his way. Or complaining. Those are the two. That's the flow chart. Did you get things your way? Then things went the way they should have. Did they not go your way? Complain like a motherfucker. Okay.
Oh, he's an angel to work with in FPL. It's an absolute angel.
I mean, yeah, I like Mo a lot as a person, as a player. I think we all know that. I can't imagine a team with Mo on it while he's very skilled. I don't think they can actually practice enough to become like one of the best teams in the region or in the world.
I mean, you don't have to dislike someone to think that they wouldn't work in the game. I mean, listen, you know the famous movie The Mask? That guy seems really funny, really entertaining. I wouldn't want that guy to be hung around me, though. It'd be really annoying. He's doing all crazy shit and fucking shit up all the time. Making jokes at people's expenses. I wouldn't want to be around The Mask. So... enjoy the Mo show, but don't be part of the Mo show. That's what I'm basically saying. That's my philosophy on life as a pro player. So, okay, the other team I wanted to talk about is actually Complexity. Yep. Also, guys, listen, I've said this many times before. Having friends is really overrated. Right? And mainly in the Counter-Strike sense. I said it like that just to be stupid. But in the Counter-Strike sense, it's very overrated. Like, here's the thing, okay? First and foremost, I've always said this to people who are like, yeah, but that guy's my friend. I was like, oh, don't worry. As long as he still goes to the event, you're still allowed to talk to him outside of your games.
Right.
Now, inside the game, having friends is very overrated, right? Like, it's true that it's cool if you're in a team and you can hang out with that guy outside of games, etc. But if your team's losing, okay, that's when it's not as cool. Like, sure, you'll have a nice time together, but you want to win as well. So here's the thing, okay? Say you could bring in a player that you don't really get along with socially, but you do better in the game. Have you ever heard of a show called South Park? Because there's like 20 seasons of it. There's loads of episodes, and you can watch them all on the internet. So you know those 2 hours where you would have played like Yahtzee with the other guy who's not as good right now, and you would have talked about like, I don't know, football or whatever the fuck you talk about, Australian rules, rugby, I don't fucking know. In this scenario, just watch South Park. Like, it'll get you through the few next months, and you'll actually do better in terms. That's my advice to everyone. Watch South Park and get those shitters off that fucking team now. Okay. Step one,
Fuck
step
friendship.
two. Okay. Exactly. Fuck friendship. So no, also, let's face it, if anyone who doesn't know anything about this pro scene, by the way, there's loads of players who aren't even on the same team and were mega friends, and they get to see each other at every after party and talk.
Yeah.
So it's just overrated in that sense, because people always make it one or the other, like, well, what do you want? You want total assholes in your team who you fucking hate, or you want a real nice guy who loses? Like, so those are the fucking options. Like, we're gonna mad. Yeah. It's not some sort of mad like fucking logic problem or something.
There is middle ground.
You could also just have people who you aren't the best friend with, but like you're like, oh, what do you like? Oasis. What music do you like? I prefer Dr. Dre. Oh, okay, cool. But we don't hate each other. Well, no, just different music. Oh, okay, cool. Well, you listen to Dr. Dre. I'll put in my headphones, listen to Oasis. Like, you know, it's not like you literally just like, what do you like? I like everything you hate, man. I worship the devil himself. Like, well, I'm a good Christian boy. I can't abide by that. Hail Satan! Hail him! Like, it's not some absolutely nuts like the dichotomy like that, is it? Like, can we just not? But do we have to boil everything on the internet down to the most mad extremes?
Yeah. There's 100% extremes. 100%. Speaking of which, Oasis fucking sucks.
They definitely don't. But okay. Henry G would be the one who'd wreck you for that. I don't even need to wreck him. Oasis is just shit. Again, you liked Angels and called yourself Dark Angel. Just everyone who's listening to his opinion there.
Hey, dude,
realize that
Angels kick ass.
I realise your favourite band, Hoobastank. That is the most tilt-worthy example I just gave you there, right?
I know. I can't come back from that.
You're spinning out of control. Out of control. Yeah, that's you, Moses.
Listen, frag movies used to have better soundtracks. That's all I'm gonna say.
So, okay, here's some more news. Okay, Hazed, since early, for the first half of this at least, Moses got to kind of like grill you guys and put you up against the wall and like demand answers and like, you know, what have you been doing in this? What have you been doing with your time? Why weren't you doing demos? You know, he got to like grill you guys about all your flaws and all your problems. I don't know if you know this, because Moses, he comes off very well on camera, right? He does a fantastic job of being a very amiable guy. He seems quite humble. He's always willing to take the beats.
Where are you going with this one back in?
Are you ready? So here's the thing, though. What a lot of people don't know about Moses is he actually harbors dreams and beliefs that the only reason he didn't get really good in CSGO is he didn't really like have a proper team. He never really tried to be pro. So he actually believes, Hazed, that if he'd have stuck around and not become a caster, that he'd be a good player. So all I'm going to ask is, Hazed, have you ever played with Moses early on in CSGO, earlier in your career?
I did not play with him other than Tin Mans. Okay, I played against him frequently. I mean, he was...
No. Here's the question, Hazed. Here's the question for you, okay? This is a little gift for you guys before we end the show, okay? The question is, if Moses tried a fraud-style comeback and he had the next 6 months locked in with an okay level team at like pro level, you know, okay level team, he has 6 whole months to practice night and day, he's trying to get his skills back up to the level, do you think he could make it as an NA pro? Do you think he could make it?
Oh man.
And listen, Moses really likes it when people are honest with their analysis, okay? He doesn't want to sugarcoat anything.
Outside of strat calling,
okay.
No, there's no way. But if he was a strat caller, yes, I think he could.
Okay.
Because he preaches about watching demos so much. I'm sure he would be willing to put in the time.
So basically, Moses, you could be the FNS of his team. Now, Shazam, what do you think? What could Moses make it if you gave him the 6 months? Yeah, sorry, too soon. Rest in peace, FNS. Now in TSM heaven. So okay, Shazam, come on.
I think after this,
you can't take it with you, mate.
He would definitely just like a support or a role player. He'd definitely be like a good asset to like an energy
Yeah, he could be the Adren of
Oh,
NRG.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Support
be a
player on energy.
So,
What is
okay,
happening?
Moses, you could be a strat caller for, like, I don't know, some shit team, or you could be a support player for NRG. I think in many ways...
organization. You preach a big game. You seem like a guy who wants to watch 100 demos for us.
In many ways, they just burned you harder than I ever would, mate. They said he could be like
Sweet Jesus, dude.
a no-skill brain player or just like a meat shield, basically. Okay, well, on that note, I feel like we have to start wrapping it up now. So, Hazed, any final comments or anyone you want to thank for coming on the episode or give a shout-out to?
Duncan, I really want to thank you. You've really looked after us NA players the past few years.
Holy Christ!
I'm motivating you guys, right?
Especially not Moses. Moses really hasn't done much for us, but you specifically have done so much.
I'm looking out.
What the fuck is this, dude? This is unreal.
Okay. Well, actually, the player I wanted to ask about was the in-game leader, Shinobi. Because he's a guy where I don't watch the lower level of NA, so I know nothing about this guy. I haven't even seen any of his games, I haven't seen any lands, obviously. Who is this guy? Because I've seen some people comment, and when they linked me to some VODs, like I watched that game where they wrecked Team Liquid online, and actually it looked like obviously I can't know what he's calling, but it looked pretty good actually. I can't lie, it didn't look bad. So is this just like a bit of hype now, or is there something there? What do you think?
I've known Shinobi for a while, but I didn't know he's a strat caller. This is new as far as I know. I didn't.
He is on Complexity. He is on Complexity. Yeah. I don't think he was last season for Denial. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I've known him for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. I've never known him to be a strat caller. So I mean, this is actually news to me. I didn't know he was a strat caller for that team. Okay. So that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I've always thought he was a decently skilled player, but I didn't know he was a strat caller.
This cool. Is his first season in professional as well, right? He hasn't been past Premier before the season. Yeah, I mean, first of all, that's a big responsibility, and they must have had like some level of faith after talking to him that he would be able to do it. I will tell you that I have actually talked to him pretty frequently as it goes to since he got moved up to pro, since he signed with Complexity, and the first interaction I had with him was him messaging me on Steam and saying, hey, how do I download demos from last season of Pro League? And because he wanted to research, he wanted to start downloading all the demos of all the teams, and he wanted to start learning what teams do. He wanted to look at tendencies. He was highly devoted to the research side, to the strat building side, and like the learning about the game, which was really, really cool to see from a young player.
By the way, anyone who's watching this show right now, here's all you need to know, okay? Moses is looking for new prospects. He's looking for scouting new hype trains. So if you're someone out there who's got any sort of skill and aspiration, here's all you do, okay? Moses will forget that I said this, okay? You just message him and you're like, Mr. O'Toole, and he's like, well, you can call me Jason, Moses. Oh, sorry, sir. And then you say, actually, I always admired you as a pro player when I was a boy, and I feel like your analysis is excellent on desks. Could you please tell me how to break down demos? And he'll be like, this kid's got his head on his shoulders. He's going places. And it's like he'll take you in like little Annie, orphan Annie, and he'll take you to the top, I reckon. So
no, but I mean, you make it into a joke, but like when is the last?
No, I know you really want people to do this. Yes, I'm telling kids, do this. He will love it. It will be great for him. Listen, Moses, I didn't want to break it to you, but none of these people care about you. I actually sent Kusta and this Shinobi guy to you. I said, listen, here's $50. I'll give you a stat track Dragon Lore. Just go tell this guy like he's good at. I know you don't know who this old piece of shit is, but tell him you like him on desks and stuff. Like, I didn't want to break it to you like this, Moses. It was for your birthday, mate.
I'm so glad I don't have my webcam up right now. You son of a bitch. No, but like
that's what's so crazy is that since it happens in such a short span of time, I just have to think I don't know what they could have discovered about their team that would have been like, oh well, fuck, now we need Stanislav back. I mean, they just have so much shit going on in that team. It just seems very disorganized at the moment, which is a shame because I mean, I think they were I had them as like the 5th best team in North America. I think 6th best team.
How fucking dare you?
Oh yeah?
How fucking dare you? That ranking made no sense whatsoever, mate.
How so?
Well, first of all, Team Liquid never played a game with their lineup. C9, brand new lineup as well.
none of the teams played. What do you want me to do? Not do a ranking?
No,
Like,
Optic had a real lineup at the time. They had an actual fucking lineup, unlike every other team, and theirs was the best on LAN, except for TSM, who changed players. So logically, Optic number 1. As all the Call of Duty fans tell me, Optic number 1, no matter what, Moses, no matter what. So
green wall,
exactly. So here's the thing, okay? I'm going to make a statement right now that might shock you, Moses. So strap the fuck in, because we're going to get a crash. This is going to be a bumpy landing, okay? Because my plan is to crash this plane with no survivors. Like, are you ready? So here's the statement. Are you ready? Are you ready for this, Moses? This is some nuts shit. Are you ready? I think Daps is a good in-game leader.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I've said this every time. I always give him the backhanded compliment, okay? He is a shit individual player. I've seen this guy have some of the worst individual games I've seen of almost anyone at that level of pro level, okay? I've seen, we're talking like 40 ADR games, like no impact, missing very easy kills, like can't hold a position. But NA is absolutely hamstrung for like real in-game leaders who watch the demos, figure out the strats, try and call them properly. Also, the ones that are like reasonable about what their team can do and don't have like ridiculous notions of like, well, we're doing really well on Mirage, so let's just like pick that into SK game. That sort of like stupid shit of like, we've got to be confident that Daps is actually a very reasonable person in that sense. And I think that's one of his best qualities, combined with the hard work, the hustle aspects of being an in-game leader. Like, you do the demos watching, you try and call the real strats. And then also, the reason why in the past this team hasn't had mad drama, I state mad drama, they are an NA team, they did have the Shazam thing, etc. People not waking up and all that.
But then if you just focus on that, then he actually has good teammates who can play off of that. So I think in that sense, I think especially in some of the maps where Pasha gets to play the more aggressive roles, I think they're really missing his play.
I've explained this concept before on analysis desks, okay? That in the NBA, they have this term they always use called a rational confidence guy. It's the idea that this is a guy
Pasha's the J.R. Smith?
This is the guy who thinks that he's the superstar. He doesn't know that he's just like a good player, above average on his team, and he's really supposed to be like the second or third best player. But because he thinks he's the superstar, anytime he wants to do something, he just goes off and tries to go crazy and carry the game. Now, what's weird about Pasha in this particular sense is that I think it was summed up best where if you ever go and watch those games, he's played a whole bunch of them where he's played Olofmeister in all these 1v1s. So he's playing the best player in the world. And if you've ever watched Olofmeister stream, Olofmeister, even when he plays Pogs, even when he just plays on his stream, his skill level is like out of this universe, dude. Like it's like the consistency of it is what's crazy. It's like every aim duel, it feels like he hits like 80% of his shots. Like his consistent ability to just kill people over and over. It's crazy, right? He's not just like a guy who only is good even on the lands. He's just a good player, full stop, okay? So if anyone else is playing against Olofmeister in a 1v1, they would be having fun. They'd be like, okay, hey, if I can get some kills off him, cool. If I steal a map, great. No one would be playing Olofmeister 1v1 in name duels and being like, oh, I'm going to win this, and I actually should win this. When Pasha plays Olofmeister in name duel, right, I'm not joking. When he dies like 3 times in a row, he's like hitting the table and stuff like, the fuck, kurva, what is this? And you're like, dude, he's like about 7 times better than you. Are you out of mind right now? And then if he gets a kill, I'm not joking, if he gets a kill on Olofmeister, he'd be like, haha, now it's turning around. And you're like, are you out of your fucking mind, bro? Like, even if you win one map, he's going to wreck you on the others. In the 1v1s, I mean, aim map obviously doesn't really say much. But even so, I think Olofmeister went like 4-1 in maps or something. Like, it's almost like...
That's what was in his name.
Like, I could imagine if Olofmeister wants to retire, he can become rich just playing 1v1s against Pasha, because Pasha will just be like, double down, again, you coward, I play you again. And he'll be like, okay, I'll play again, put it up, Pasha. And it's be like, he'll just have no money left at the end of the month. Like Olofmeister could make like $1,000 a month just playing those 1v1s, I'm telling you. See, and also if he just talked it up, he's like, oh, Pasha, you were so close to getting me there, bro. I was in the red. Like, he would just double down every time. That just sums his style of play up, though, dude. He thinks he's like way better than he is. Okay, so there's VP in general. Times in a row and win 4 of those rounds. It's unreal to watch. I mean, I made this point about Fnatic when Flusher was carrying in the final, that when like your 4th best player can just carry the whole map, you've got a fucking insanely deep team. Well, it's the same thing in Envy. Every now and then, maybe like 1 in 5 maps, NBK will just have like 30 kills and just carry the whole map. he's not even like the top 3 player in their team. That's the level of skill they have there, where they really can. But that explains why they play the way they do, because they have so many get out of jail free cards. If Shox isn't having a great game, dude, they've won whole tournaments. They won a major without Shox having great games. Other people will have a crazy game, but every now and then you get a series like this one, where in this particular series, okay, in the group stage game it was fine. They were fragging all right. In this particular best of 3, especially on Cash, basically Kiyashima was like, everyone get on my back, and everyone else was like, how do you frag again? Like the whole team just went to shit, and they did nothing on the T side on Cash. Like it is so weird, because I can't blame them for it, 'cause it works so often. They can still win tournaments doing it, but I wish they could like combine the two, like have all of that, but then at least have some basics, so that when you do have the game where it's not working, you've got something that you can do. Whereas you can see they're also the top team that tilts the hardest. Like you can just see on Happy's face, dude, when it's not working for them and no one's fragging. He's not an in-game leader who's like, right, guys, here's the new call that I've come up with now, and here's something we can do. He's just sort of like, buy up, I guess. Just do the same shit again. And like, are you really? You're the in-game leader, dude. What do you think, Lopez?
Well, I mean, I actually tweeted about Happy's faces, or rather face, during one of the
his tilt face is hilarious.
Because he just looks the same way every round. He just kind of leans in on his hand and his arm, just waits until the round starts, buys with one arm, and then just continues playing. And I think he's somehow in there, he mumbles something about something to do, unless it's Shox's day to call. So I mean, it would actually be really interesting. And some people on Twitter said that they would subtitle some of the NVS VODs from the recent events. So hopefully that happens, because it would actually be really interesting to see how they call. Obviously,
dude, you're not going to like it, because if you read any of those threads on HLTV.org where people are translating stuff they say, I can tell you right now, Lopez, they're basically like a North American 1.6 team playing elite level CS, as in their version of calls is like, fuck these guys, we can kill them all next round, I'm gonna fuck that guy up who got me last. It's like, it's just bravado, dude. It's not even, they're not even doing like any comms. It's just like big balls plays. I mean, listen, it sounds cool as fuck. Like if you say that and then you win, yeah, that's cool. Like that is some shit out of the movie, right? Like that's like throwing the cigarette at that car and then you walk away and it explodes behind you. But if it fails and you look like an idiot that you didn't even have any tactics or anything, right?
But to be fair, I also read that Spitz was saying a lot of that stuff, in which point it gets to that point where you're like the little kid who gets bullied, and then his big brother comes over just to rescue you, and then the little kid keeps yelling. Well, that's what it sounded to me like when Smits was talking shit.
It's also that principle, you know, where like it's the smaller the dog is, the more it has to bark to like make itself seem really big, and like there's loads of dogs in this house. That's like Smits' shit. He's like, yeah, come on, motherfucker, I'll fuck you up. It's like, will you? Or will Shox and Kishima's fuck us up? Who exactly will be doing the fucking up here, Smits? But okay, so on Cloud9's side of things, though.
They did. I remember NBK tweeting that they didn't make it, so they will be there.
So then that'll be it. I think TSM will be better next year. Like as we start, I think the break will do them some good, and I think they'll be better off. Who else? Let's see. Who else is going to be at that event?
The tournament participants are Fnatic, G2, Na'Vi, Titan, XTSM, Luminosity, and then Method and CyberZen.
Dude, that is going to be a fucking bitchin' tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, except for those last two names, you mean, Samba.
RDR.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Samba. Was I bringing your buzz down there on the parade for Method? Were you really looking forward to seeing Method play with you?
No, I don't think that they matter at all. It's just that...
Mate, if you want to see Method play, you're smoking Crystal Method. 2000s reference to frag movies there. Reference game incredibly on point. Anyway, so the only thing I'm looking forward to are CyberZen.
Man, CyberZen.
Savage, mate. That's all I want to see.
Savage is going to be it, yeah.
I mean, it'd be nice if he'd stop throwing games, obviously, online and cheating and getting skins, but let's forget about that because he's not from America, so it's allowed to do that sort of thing in Poland, in France, in China. It's allowed to do that sort of theft from fans. Right, guys? My biceps? My friends? Yeah. Is it okay for me to throw this game, my friends? Like these biceps? Listen, I need to feed my family. What you feed him at this point in time? Fucking spaghetti made out of like gold ropes. You fucking rich as fuck, mate. Mortar 2K gave you like 20k. Well, you feeding him diamonds. They're eating muesli made out of diamonds instead of raisins. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring it back, guys. Bring it back. So that's the end of the TSM segment, but that does lead into the next team we obviously have to talk about, Virtus Pro. Chance to do what I want to do. So amazingly, like before we talk about the Sixer part, what do you think about that, Yanko? The fact that they removed Devil and kind of like that weird, like that's actually a pretty bad breakup in a way, you know.
I mean, I was honestly surprised when I saw them making the change, when I saw the rumor initially, because they did start playing better after, you know, the new season of Pro League started in August. They switched back to their old playing style and everything, the old roles, and they actually had some decent results. You could see improvement with them after a long time. Even individuals started playing better. So I was surprised by that. And also Sixer, I mean, you know this, he was, in 1.6, he was known as an opper. He was the primary opper for his teams like Millennium and so on. And you bring him in a team that already has Kenny S. So that's going to be interesting to see. And for all the bad blood, I don't know. I'm also like, why would you do something like that? I mean, there's no reason if you already part ways. Yes, okay, Devil, of course, he can be a bit salty and everything, but it's not like he was, you know, revealing any dirty secrets or something like that, you know?
What do you think, Moses?
I mean, yeah, he's the logical one to replace. I do think, to a certain degree, I think I would lean more towards Devil's side of the story than I would Envy's, I think.
Moses siding with the Devil? I think I've heard that before.
The pity about him leaving this team is it will not save him from Thorin-related roasting. He is still going to be a favorite target of yours for no fucking reason.
No reason. Definitely not that he's just shit at the game Counter-Strike, but paid one of the highest salaries in the world. That'll have nothing to do with it, I bet. Just a mean guy out there. Oh, again, you're like one of those fucking Nip fans, right? Why are you being mean, saying Nip is not #1 in the world with 0 titles? That all they are getting is lots of money and to be shit and have -30 at a LAN. Why can one guy be allowed to say this?
Devil roast out of nowhere for no reason whatsoever other than to just destroy.
Okay, I will admit, the difference with the Dread and Devil and Smiths is that I will also roast them in a match where in a scenario where they're not playing in the match and it's actually totally unrelated to them. Yeah, and I'll just bring them up. And I imagine they might sometimes be sat at home like, why am I getting roasted? I'm not even at this fucking event. And I'm like, you see that guy with the up shot? Didn't know Smiths was playing. Like, fucking hell. It's like, that is, I will admit that's a bit hardcore, but it is still just jokes, guys. Just harmless banter. Still
mates, of course.
Still all mates, yeah. They all hit me, by the way. But okay. Luckily, don't really care about being hated by shit players from France. So, any more comment on the situation? Like, what do you think about Sixer coming in, Moz? Like, I know you didn't follow the end of 1.6. You didn't really see the guy's career. But...
NIP, like Fnatic, the Fnatic roster isn't changing, so there's nobody from Fnatic that they can pick up. You thought, I think
NIP's now paying 150 grand for Gamers 2 players. Just no. I mean, Titan. Sorry, that was a bad move. That was not value for money. Okay, continue.
Well, Scream has got a pretty goddamn big brand, though. I don't know. You might be able to debate that one.
Okay. Well, Schneider told me the other day he's a top 3 aimer in the world. So Schneider actually told me.
I don't think that matters, really.
He literally said that. Schneider said his top 3 aimers in the world were Pyth, Flamey, and who was I just talking
Scream.
about there? Pyth, Flamey, and Scream was his top 3 aimers in the world.
He has Pyth as a top aimer?
Yep.
The crazy thing about being a really good aimer is apparently it either
doesn't translate to kills, right?
It doesn't translate to kills.
I know. Even though the head hitbox gives you the easiest kill. It actually gives you the best kill you can get because it's 1 bullet. You'd think the best aimers would be dominating. I mean, it's weird. I mean, I obviously know nothing about the game, Semler, because I'm not a pro player.
Well, you don't play. I mean, what's your rank, Thorin? What's your rank?
Lurpus was driven out, so he knows nothing. But call me weird. I've always thought the best aimers in the world were, sort of like Shocks, Forrest, Olaf Meister, Device. Apparently not. Oh, another thing, by the way. Apparently the best aimer in TSM was Cajun B. Wasn't even Device. So you learn something new every day. Here's what this will sound incredibly condescending and obnoxious, but that's what I do. So here's how I think someone like Schneider comes to that conclusion.
Can I go first?
Can you guess what it is?
I can tell you, it's the latest highlight clip that they
no,
saw.
No, it's worse than that, mate. What happened was, Schneider has played against TSM, and every time it's Cajun B who bangs his head off. So he's like, he is so sick with his aim. How the fuck is he so good? And that means I also know Flamey's getting in his ass. I know Pyth's just fucking him up with Deagles. And basically, all I know now is how bad the games that Schneider's having against specific players. I don't know much about those players, actually, because I'm looking at the holistic aspect of the whole scene. How do you like that, Selfless? It's a good theory, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay.
You just got a window into Schneider's soul. Okay.
He believed in everyone, didn't he?
But yeah, no, it's just when you the one okay, you know, if you're looking for positives, I'd heard talk that Pyth was struggling on Winter Fox because of the language barrier, because he wasn't feeling comfortable having to try and communicate in English, right? As quickly, right? So that might have had an impact on his game. How big? But, you know, might have had an impact on his game. So one positive thing here is that, okay, he's going to be back on a Swedish roster now. He's going to be playing with players that he's probably looked up to for, you know, ever, right? So now he's going to be playing with those players.
Oh, by the way, let me just give Pyth some credit on that. Okay. I'll give him an allowance for that. It is true the language barrier could help, but here's a weird thing. I think the language barrier in NA hurts, not because you don't understand what they're saying, but because they never shut the fuck up. So I imagine Pyth, Pyth was in the game, okay, and he's trying to like aim on an angle, and he's trying to think it's an edge, and then he just hears people like, beep, 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 beep. He's lit, dude, fuck, I domed him. What the fuck? Why? How did he get me that guy? That's bullshit. I was through a wall. He's like, I'm trying to fucking play here. I'm trying to listen to the footsteps. What is this? Like, that's what it's like on an NA team. You've seen FPL, Sabler.
That's exactly how it is, dude. That's exactly. If you listen
Every time I talk to Fifth Lauren, he's losing his shit when he plays those games. Motherfuckers, it's like, you know that joke? Someone made a screenshot where it was like call-outs, and then there's that area on the map where it just says, dude, I'm lit, where it's from like Catwalk on Dust 2. It's the idea that's their call-out. It's not even a spot. It's like, shit, I'm lit. How did you get me through? He's hacking. He's through a wall. Like, that's NA. That's a spot on the map. You have to learn to translate that like a pygmy language. And actually, like, ooh, oh, that means he wants the wooden balls now. Here we go. That's NA. I've learned to talk to the. We're like Jane Goodall learning to talk to the fucking apes with sign language or something. That's what Pyth was like in NA. Okay.
Okay.
Back on track. Python nip. Yeah.
Forrest and Get Right just thinking like, hey guys, remember a couple years ago we had that run where we won a couple tournaments and he was hitting shots? And I could totally actually see that happening again. It didn't happen, but this is like so far from the left field that I don't think you can even see that far. Like, how do you justify picking up Pyth?
Lurpis, here's the thing, okay? On DreamHack Stockholm desk, for some unknown reason, Anders revealed to the world that he thinks Pauf is some amazing talent. He even used some sort of term like he can play at a super elite level, which is like, Anders, you're giving me brain cancer. You know, this is my fucking language, you know, like, can you learn it before you start speaking? You know, it's quite rude to not know even what the words mean before you're saying them, you know, like, what do you think that means? 6 out of 10? Definitely not. So anyway, he said this crazy statement, but here's the thing, even Anders doesn't fucking bang on about Pyth. Even he gave up on Pyth, Pit, whatever you meant to say. Even he gave up on him, like the rest of us, a year and a half ago. The hype train sailed on that one.
I think it was when he killed himself on train with a Negev falling off a ladder.
And
that was probably when it all ended.
Something that I've always disliked about players is when they sort of quit for a while, they go inactive, they say, oh, I'm kind of, and Pyth actually did this too. He didn't just go inactive. He actually like posted a statement on Facebook saying, I'm kind of sick of the game. I need to step back a little bit. Like either you want to play or you don't. And obviously he's going to want to play while he's in NIP, but his motivation has already come and gone a couple times.
See, that makes it sound like, you remember that like cheesy old song that was actually by the guy, I forget his fucking name, that guy out of Linkin Park, where it was like 10% passion, 20% pain. Like for Pyth, his makeup is like, mate, what makes me want to play CS is like 20% salary, 10% do I have good players, 30% when did I bomb the last LAN or whatever. Like, come on, mate, surely he's like the game as well. Oh yeah, the game a lot as well, sure. Is my nip jersey ready? Yeah, the game. I love the game. Okay. Online we were winning there, but we threw this particular round in a 1v3. You'll hear all the sort of low level, basically like the sort of shit that like a fucking, like a Distinguished Master Guardian would tell you about why he's not in fucking Legendary Eagle. Like the sort of all the sort of bullshit that is not the real reason why. These people don't know what went wrong. That's why they're gonna have a problem fixing it.
I'm actually really impressed that you need names of 2 different CS:GO ranks that are not global elite.
It's good, right?
Yeah, that was really good.
And you know the sad thing, Lurpus? Let me just say this once and for all. Here's the sad part. I actually am not condescending towards fans in as much as I give fans too much credit. Like, one thing I never used to look up, right? Because I only found this out from League of Legends. This is why I looked it up in CSGO. In League of Legends, okay, their bottom rank is actually bronze. So they start at bronze and it goes up the metals and then it goes platinum, diamond, master, challenger, okay? So challenger is the equivalent of the global elite. Now, what I didn't know in League of Legends, because you've got so many ranks, you'd think logically, well, if there's like 5 or 6 ranks, the middle of where most people must be in the middle one, right? No. Most people in League of Legends, 90% of players are in the bottom 2 ranks. So 90% of players who are spouting off all their knowledge on Reddit know fuck all about the game and have no analytical basis to be experts. It's the same in CSGO. I didn't know this. I went and had a look, right, in CSGO, and the majority of people, it's only something like the top 3 to 4 ranks, Semler, is something like ranks? There was someone did this like a year or 2 ago where they broke down the percentages of the ranks, okay? And
okay.
There was only something like 8% of people were in the top 3 or 4 ranks. In the whole world, 8%. So that means everyone watching the show now, like, you don't know anything about the game, is probably a fucking golden over. That's not a joke. And some of them, it's like, Lurpus, this will blow your mind. I meet girls and who are like girl streamers, and I meet people who are League of Legends pros who've played a bit of CSGO, and they go, yeah, I'm getting pretty good actually. I'm just onto that double AK, and I'm like, I'd kill yourself, mate. Like, that's not even vaguely good. Like when I actually first played CSGO and got my ranking matches, that was the lowest I ever went, was the double AK. When I first started the game and hadn't played the game for 2 years and just started, that was like, wow, I'm really bad at this game. Little did I know I was in the top like 15% of playing the whole fucking world. That's how bad the shitters watching this show right now, judging us, are. And here's the difference. They're going to go, now, wait a minute, you're a hypocrite. You just said that the whole point is you don't have to be a pro. No. I don't have to be a pro, but it's not the fact I'm not a pro that makes me an expert. I then am not a pro, but did something else with my time. Studied the fucking game, spent years watching it. You're not a pro and have done nothing. You are not anything. You have no qualifications for anything. You are literally a fucking empty chair. So talk like an empty chair, motherfucker.
I feel like
anyway, the rants on this show are going too far, aren't they? Yeah, I know, mate. It's unreal, isn't it?
You read a comment between now and then.
Yeah,
you know, that's like just triggering you so hard.
Okay, I don't think I think the worry of Duncan using all of his rage before we went live was warranted. I don't think that was needed.
No. Wait, Lurpus, I'm going to trigger you because something I actually addressed in my recent Thorin versus Reddit, and I almost lost my shit on this one, was this fan theory. And here's the thing, Lurpus, my favourite ones in Thorin versus Reddit, obviously some of them I address because it's a point that I think is worth addressing, you know. Like if someone says something that I've seen many times, I'll address it even if it was a downvoted comment. My favourites are utterly inane asinine comments that are super upvoted. So this comment, I forget off the top of my head, I think it was like 80 points, and then there was a reply that was like 50 points. Here was a real theory someone put forward, Slurpus. I'll read it to you because it's so good. You have to, when you hear this, remember that it was super upvoted, okay? Don't think, oh, well, that's just one person that doesn't represent everyone. No. More motherfuckers thought this was worth upvoting than worth downvoting. This was a real opinion given where when people found out that NIP had all these problems where they weren't getting paid enough or they weren't getting paid on time. So this was right after the major. Are you ready to have your fucking mind blown? Let me just do a keyword search for this. Here we go, Lurpus. 89 points. There's 2 comments to read, so let me read both, okay? And then you can react. 89 points 1 month ago. So NIP has been underperforming as a protest to not getting paid. Showed their hand one time against TSM in a if you treat us properly, look what we can do fashion, and then proceeded to throw the next game. A guy replies, 26 points. As daft as this might sound, it would explain why one of the best teams of all time suddenly became terrible. Let's be honest here. It makes far more sense than every other team in the world suddenly becoming amazing in the space of a month or two. How you like that, Lurpus? That theory? Like that theory? Does it float with you?
I muted my mic because I was gonna ruin your reading.
It's good, right? It's good, right?
It's like I don't
Nip fans,
like,
mate. That the way that's best illustrated is on this website that was a famous community site for Quake called ES Reality. I was once reading there, and when Quake Live came out, which was a browser version of Quake 3 that was free to play, there was a lot of people naively in Quake were like, right, well, we've got a free to play version now, and you know, like you can just play it through a browser, you don't have to download and install anything, so we're going to get loads of players come to this game, loads of people are going to want to play Quake and realize, like, you know, it's obviously a better game than Counter-Strike and stuff, and they're going to quit playing Counter-Strike, and suddenly Quake's going to be the big game again. And this story that I'm going to tell you now explains why that will never happen. So a guy used to play Quake a lot, and he was on this forum, and he said a friend of his came around who'd never played Quake, and he saw him playing. And so when his friend saw him playing, and if you know what Quake's like, you know, he's like jumping around, he's like hitting people with air rockets and lightning gunning. His friend's looking, he's going, wow, this looks sick. Like, this game looks fucking amazing. Can I have a go? And so he goes, yeah, sure. Like, I'll just go and get like a drink or something. You know, I'll give you like half an hour. And he goes away, and when he comes back, his friend's been playing it for like half an hour. He says to his friend, like, what did you think then? It's a sick game, isn't it? And his friend goes like, I mean, it's okay, but the problem is, like, I mean, I've been playing for half an hour, and it's like I can't compete. And he was going, you know, the game's been out like 10 years. Like, everyone you're playing with has been playing like probably for like a few years at least. Like, why would you be able to compete? He's like, yeah, but it's not going to be fun if I can't compete. Like, think of the logic of that. Average fan person wants to be able to, within half an hour, go into an NBA court and, like, at least lose to Michael Jordan, like, 10-7. Like, you know, I was at least in the game, right? I was making shots. Like, no, if you play Michael Jordan one-on-one, you will almost never make a shot. He'll, like, block the ball in your face, and then every time he's on offense, he'll just, like, hit a fadeaway jumper in your face, and you'll just get wrecked completely. Like, that's a competitive game. So, unfortunately, I think from that respect, if you balance the game around casuals, I mean, ultimately, we don't really, like you're saying, Yanko, we don't care. We don't play the casual game anyway. So I guess it doesn't matter in that sense. The problem is it's going to affect what happens for the pro game, and then it's going to make the pro game have all these wild inconsistencies, which from a pro perspective don't make sense. But if you look at the noob version, maybe it does. Like, as a joke, if you tell me that they're ranking from DMG, they're looking at how often, like, you know, one of the things Valve always brings up that triggers me is like, well, this gun's being used too much, so we're going to maybe nerf that, or this one isn't being used enough, so we'll buff it. Please don't do that from DMG, because you know how many Russians are just buying Deagle every time on Save Rail? That's probably why all these pistols are there, because they're like, oh, you know what? People seem to really love the Deagle. Like, we need to make some other guns that are powerful and compressive. No, those are just all Russians. Russians just buy Deagles. I don't know why they do it. They just loved it. Like, a Deagle to a Russian is like a laser pointer point to a cat. If you shine it around, he's going to go crazy for that. They love it. We don't know why. It doesn't make sense. He can't get it. He can't do anything with it. It's just a laser pointer thing. So that would be my impassioned speech to Valve. Please stop thinking that. Don't balance a game based on laser pointers and cats. Actually figure out what other animals need. Here's my question, Sloth Squadron. Is there a way to still allow the game to be fun for casuals, but to not just balance it off casuals? Do you think is there a balance that can be reached there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly sure the term. I think it's called a foo strategy, but basically it's whenever you're first getting into a game, you're finding the most optimal way to play until you eventually hit a wall where you realize I have to improve. So you, like, say you start the game and you're like, oh, I like the UMP. I mean, you're not going to be able to compete with like AK and OP and such like that, but against, like, say, very casual players, if you're like playing in the silvers, you can very well pick up a UMP and still do pretty good. You're using this time to, say, learn a map, learning some of the mechanics, while using this absolutely, you know, gun that can't compete with other guns.
See, the sick thing is, I just thought of a little way, Yanko, without changing anything about the guns, that I could maybe fix my own scenario. So if you go to buy a Desert Eagle when you just lost pistol round, it just says in Cyrillic Russian text on the screen, like, this gun is not typically bought second round. that it won't fix the game overnight, but it might have a little impact. Okay, keep going anyway, Slot Squad. That's just an interruption there.
Anyway, the SMGs, they get
individual styles. Like, people have to be able to adapt, and that adaptability, I think, is one of the most, being a versatile player and an adaptable player, not only over short periods of time but over a long period of time, is one of the most important qualities you can have as a professional player. And I don't think enough people, I think right now in Counter-Strike, and I think right now in esports across multiple titles, come into Counter-Strike and they say, okay, there's these five roles that people talk about. There's the sniper, the in-game leader, the lurker, whatever it might be. Some delusional motherfucker even says there's a clutch role, which is just like, kill yourself. But like, But like they look at these roles.
How is that real? Okay, keep going.
They look at these roles and they say, I am going to be this role. This is going to be the role I identify with, and I am going to work to be very, very good in this role. But if you don't develop being good at the other roles, you don't understand how it fits into the big picture. That's where there's the biggest issues in team play. That's where there's the biggest issues in figuring out how to play within the framework of a team. So, I mean, there needs to be a little bit more adaptability between players.
Listen, mate, there's a lot of teams need that clutch role. They haven't got that spot filled yet. CLG, they need a clutch role guy. There's a lot of teams need that role filled.
I've seen it on forums, and it's
so bad.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the question. Okay, so this week. So okay.
I don't know. Like I'm trying to like. I don't see any. I mean, obviously, we don't see this team much in LAN. I think the big worry, obviously, is that we just saw them at Global Challenge, where they barely beat Ents, who had Natsu playing for Alu, 16-14 win. They lost to MK in the grand finals. I think they lost to Penta in a BO3, and they beat Echo Fox, was like their big win. Them and Ents.
Which again,
Echo Fox and Ents are the big wins in BO1s.
Yeah, I beat Echo Fox. Listen, get a number and get in line, motherfucker. There's a lot of people you know that thing in Wynn's world where they go to get into the backstage area and then Wynn's girlfriend's gone through and he goes, hey, wait, can't I come through? And the guy goes, excuse me, sorry, like IDs only. He goes, no, but my girlfriend's through there. And that guy goes, listen, there's a lot of people's girlfriends through there. That's how I feel when someone says, yeah, but I beat Echo Fox. Like, listen, a lot of people beat Echo Fox.
That's a claim to fame.
It is, isn't it? It's mad.
Oh, but I don't see this team doing very well. That's
it's for good reason.
Well, I've been waiting. I had a big talk like in December as well, even to Starks, and I was like, you know what you guys should do is just like take like 2 weeks and just become badasses on cash, just like do all like the theory craft behind it. And then
I hope he destroyed you, right?
What's that?
I hope like when this story ends, he come up with some sick Russian burn on your ass.
Well, no, it's just like because everyone knows they ban cash. So what if they go into a major and all of a sudden they just keep banning cash, and then they get to like the grand finals, semifinals, whatever it might be, and they just bust out a cash on a team, and no one knows what the fuck they're gonna do. Like how epic would that be? And he's just like, listen, there's no time to do that. And on top of that, even if we did want to practice it, no matter what we come up with, we would have to show it to teams in practice so they would know we're working on cash. So the entire process behind it is just fucked, especially with all this time, with all the events and leagues. There's no time to actually sit down and do that. So it's just like it really is just so difficult to be able to be good on every single map.
No, Jason, you got this all wrong. This is where it's a clear lack of dedication, right? Just be like we made Fox and set on the server, dry run strats for about 9 hours a day.
Yeah.
Easy.
No, that's a very good point you make there, actually, Moses. Especially because like another key detail of that, obviously, is like in the same sense as people would figure it out, and to get good on it yourself, you'd have to have practiced against people. Also, a reason why Navi's the perfect example is because the reason why to Navi it never made sense to practice Nuke or Cash, or whichever one of these two you're picking, is because they were always so exceptionally good at like 5 other maps. Like, why bother? You know, almost like play any of the other 5. What I like to imagine is that Moses said all this like very earnestly. Like, I imagine he's saying it to his hero Starix. You know, like he's just some young little bug. Mr. Starix, why not just do this, Mr. Starix? And then he just goes like, "What do you Americans know about maps?" And then he just walks away like some fucking god. Like he just walks out. Like that's the most, because you know the thing about Starix is, here's the thing, right? There's a lot of stereotypes out there about like people from Ukraine and Russia and stuff, and sadly a lot of them aren't true. Like a lot of them are just normal people, like within their own context, you know. But Starix is one of those people who actually legit could be at like you know, mafia status. You know, he's like actually at that level. Like he has that swagger around him, you know. Like, okay, I'll tell this story, okay?
Yeah.
I don't normally ever...
Isn't he the mafia guy in that picture where they're all dressed up like mafia dudes? He's like the most realistic looking one.
So, okay, I won't tell any of the rest of the story because, like I say, it is kind of BM to reveal private stuff. But just for the sake of the humor, okay, because I know he probably won't mind this, okay? There was a moment where Starix came up to me at an event last year, and he comes up everyone's in a bar setting, you know, enjoying drinks. He doesn't come up and say hello or shake my hand or open with any sort of comment. He just walks up, turns to me and says, "You're talking too much. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And he goes, yes, you're talking too much. And he didn't mean like I'm talking too much at that moment. He just means like I'm talking about Counter-Strike too much publicly without knowing like everything he knows in his mind. So I won't say the rest of the conversation. It's quite an interesting conversation. But that is just like, I can't even lie. When he said that, I was like, Jesus, the balls on this guy. Like, that is the most epic opening. Like, imagine walking up to someone thinking they're going to be like receptive when you're like, excuse me, you speak, you no speak no more. Say, oh, okay, yep, sure thing, mate. You tell me when to speak. Like, brilliant. So,
it's like when you expect to turn around and have like 3 goons behind you, like ready to just like bring you out into an alleyway.
I'm like, no, hey, Mr. Stark, like, I'll talk when I want. They're like, Mr. Stark, say you no speak now, okay? You shh, you quiet now, quiet. You are quiet. Like, oh, sure thing, boss. Sadly, obviously, no one can silence me like that. But anyway, so.
Frequently with them, that little Asian duo that they've created.
Okay.
I think
who else then? Who else is out there, do you think?
That's why it's so upsetting that you don't see Shroud like doing better, because they have everything that he could have wanted. Remember when he did a little bit more of like an entry role? He was a little bit more the aggressor, and he just wasn't good at it. So you felt he needed to get back in his comfort zone. He has the aggressors now. He's got automatic, Nothing, and Stewie, and there's like Stewie and Nothing especially are just 3 people who just want to be involved in Carnage. Like there should be a front line there that Shroud just loves. I mean, yeah, Nitro and Elysia are the 2 big ones that come straight to mind. Even Pimp, if we're just going to stick with Liquid. Let's go to... No one on CLG, I think, would fit the bill. CLG's in shambles right now, my man.
Yeah.
Optic. Rush.
Isn't he more of an entry fragger, though?
Yeah, but I think he has the skills to be a little bit more... I think he would be more successful in the kind of role that Shroud would play.
Okay. Obviously Showtime, but the only reason I wouldn't pick him up is he doesn't have good enough English, so...
Yeah, the only reason.
He knows the basics. Well, maybe he does. Who knows? So...
Listen, none of that English, Duncan.
Okay.
None of the Brazilians.
No one speaks English, actually. In fact, Zeus didn't even know he was speaking English. He actually was trying to say in Brazilian something that just coincidentally sounds like if you reset the map, I forfeit. That means.
Do you really want to get into this?
In Portuguese, that actually means like, can I please have tacos with the extra chili sauce and some yogurt on it, please? He thought he was ordering lunch, and then now people are taking. Anyway. Anyway, keep going. So is there anyone else who we can pick out here?
I'm trying to